Hello, Jambaggers, and welcome to the next Jambags Comedy Gaming Podcast. Before we get into that, I wanted to start talking about the state of the gaming industry at the moment, where we're starting to hear a lot of quite troubling stories about kind of prominent figures within the gaming community. The writers on Fallout New Vegas, kind of using their rock star status to kind of behave quite badly with women. Some of the allegations against people like Angry Joe. We want to kind of address some of this, not really by pointing blame at anyone, because not all of this is completely founded at the moment, but we wanted to make a pledge to our Jambags listeners that we, the Jambags crew, Rudy will be along in just a moment, wanted to make sure that you're aware that no matter how big we get, no matter how badly we sell out, and we really do plan to sell out quite badly as soon as we can, we will always be humble and respectful to other people in gaming, no matter who works for us or who we...
Right, Dante, whatever you're listening to talk about right now, just shut the fuck up. I've got some news.
Ow, Rudy, you hit me. Why did you hit me?
Shut the fuck up. This is important, all right? I've got some real motherfucking gaming news, and it blows anything that you've been doing out of the water.
I was just talking about how we're going to be respectful and how we're not going to be abusive and all that kind of... Ow, you hit me again!
Fuck all that shit. I've got some news, and our listeners need to hear this because it kind of changes the dynamic of this podcast. There's a little relationship going here, okay? And I need to tell you right now that I have got the Platinum 100% trophy on Bloodborne on the PlayStation 4. Boom!
I've not even played Bloodborne. Is that a thing? Is that a difficult thing to get?
Is it a difficult thing to get? I think so, Dante. It's, some Hidetaki Miyazaki, Dark Souls guy. It's a Dark Souls kind of game on PlayStation 4. It's exclusive. It's really hard. You've got to do a load of optional bosses. And I beat it and got 100% and got all the trophies for the main game. Okay. Mic drop. You can't, mic drop. I'm dropping a mic. You can't see it, but I'm dropping a mic.
Yeah, I see. That's why I don't give a shit about it. So how long did this wondrous achievement take you?
That's not the point. The point is that I got the achievement, okay? It's not about how much effort I put into it. It's not about the fact that I played through the game 3 times now, including one gone, New Game Plus. It's not about the 242 hours I put into it. What it's really about is that I did it. Did you know that only like 6% of people that play the game managed to get that platinum trophy? And that game sold millions. So that means that I'm like really special.
Yeah, no.
Do the maths. Do the maths.
I will do the maths, as they don't say in America. Yeah, no, I'm kind of meh on this news, really. To be
just
quite
look
honest.
Seriously. Right? Okay, this is because you are beneath me as a gamer. Okay, you with your little pews and your inverted controls and playing a bit of Lego. Oh, look at that. That doesn't mean anything, okay? Because you are a substandard gamer compared to me. I am the most awesome gamer in the world ever because I have got a non-physical and entirely electronic trophy and a signifier that I've played the game quite a lot, and that makes me pretty much gaming royalty right now.
Just let me look at this.
Kiss my finger.
I'm not kissing anything of yours. Not
kiss
again.
My ring finger.
Not kissing any of your rings. No, that brings back too many university flashbacks.
Are you all salty, Dante? Oh no.
Okay, no, right. Okay, so you've done looking at the details up here on Trophy Hunters. Yeah, you've done all kind of the main. Mm-hmm. Have you done the Old Hunters DLC? That too.
The what?
It says here, right on here on Trophy Hunters, Old Hunters DLC. Have you done this?
What are you talking about? What do you mean more trophies?
Look it up. I'll send you the link. Here, look at this link.
Oh, Welcome, Jambaggers, to another episode of the Jambags Gaming Podcast with myself, Rudy Manchego, and my dear co-host, Mr. Dante Rodriguez.
Hello, Rudy. How are you doing this month? How is the lockdown treating you? Are you still working your way through that gaming backlog?
Well, yes, actually. I mean, I have increased the backlog because, we're in a semi-lockdown situation now. This was our fourth episode of kind of, which, 4 months in where, COVID, but it's semi-lockdown. We can now trade in games. We can now legally go into shops and buy those games if we choose to.
Yes, we can, despite, all those campaigns that we said that we had to keep gaming shops open to supply ourselves with old school Nintendo stuff. I think that pressure might have gotten through to the government, and they reopened the shops just for us. And that's
I would 100% agree. I don't think it's really got anything to do with the economy or the political issues going on with our current UK leadership or the global economic situation. I think that our pressure on opening the gaming industry up and meaning we could trade in our games, etc., really, really was decisive. So go Jambags. That's another one we're going to claim for a win.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we are movers and we are shakers in this industry, and we are making it happen.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So, are you going to go to any of these shops?
No. God, no.
No, me neither. God, I don't want to get. No, I don't want to. Have you seen how dirty some of those cases are? I think so. That's horrible. No, going all digital. I am, mate.
Yeah, no. That's well away from all that, and all those kind of smelly people that work in them and buy things in them. Basically, anyone who's our target audience. Forget I said that last bit about smelly people, please.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, forget that. But I mean, I think it's great that people have now got the freedom to do it. And obviously, we won't be doing it because, we like our lives. But, for everyone else, for the rest of you guys out there, you go do that. You go trade those things in. Yeah, no, you support the, what is it called again? The economy? That's the thing, right? It comes from the Latin economas. Anyway, it's to do something like that, and it's all important. So go out there, buy stuff, wash it if you can, and then but we'll probably stick digital, but you guys definitely go out and do that. But anyway, this is an important month, I think, in gaming. It is, Dante. No, I mean, we are really gearing up to that, to the next generation of gaming. There's been, I know we haven't had E3, but there's been the Future Game Show and other online events where we start to see more things about future games. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot to talk about. So, it's quite an important podcast for us. Yeah, we are going to be getting literally grabbing the whole bull. Well, we're going to grab the bull by the bits and address by the. Yeah, well, I mean, that sounds dangerous. But what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the big debate: PS5 versus Xbox Series X, and we are going to go head to head on this one. We are a nation divided. We are completely. We are very firmly entrenched in our sort of tribal nature of our games console affiliations. Even though we've both got both now, haven't we? Yeah, I'm Captain America in this scenario. Physically and looks wise, and you are Tony Stark, but without the brains on this one. This is a civil war. Hey! Do not hate because I just have a way better beard than you could ever grow. That's just my beard's going all right. Thank you very well. I mean, it's growing slowly.
It's been growing since you were a teenager. Just write it off and just shave.
Never. But yes, we're going to get really into that. And we've also got quite a lot of news. So I think we'll keep this intro brief. Should we get straight into the news?
Yeah, we are going to From the Jambags. Okay, Jambaggers, we are on to our regular news segment where we show you some of the news that's been going on in the gaming industry at the moment, but with that slight Jambags twist. And by Jambags twist, I mean most of it's kind of made up for comic effect, but you hopefully figure all that out by now. Anyway, we are moving on to our first news item, and this
rocked the industry, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, this is something that we see as very important and very relevant, and are not quickly on hand to ridicule every chance that we can, just because we don't understand it really. It's the world of streaming, which is not to do with peeing. I'm been told. Anyway,
I mean, I think to try and get the demographic right is that I just want to get clear is that we absolutely respect streamers, and it's a very, very hard job to do in the sense of entertaining people playing games. And you're going to see it. It's just that because we would utterly suck at it.
Completely suck.
We don't really quite understand it at all in the world, because there seems to be lots of terminology we don't do. So we're a bit old and out of it. But we are aware that streaming is a big part of the gaming industry. And dominated by Twitch, obviously,
Yes,
the big platform. But Microsoft made a massive push a few years ago with their Mixer platform.
I think it was only 1 year ago. It was about a year ago where they well, certainly the most I wouldn't say controversial part of it, but the thing that gave it the most headlines was the fact that they managed to sign the sort of largest streamer, the one with the most followers or whatever, this guy called Ninja, exclusively to their Mixer platform, and that was only about a year ago. And now, following on this news, that they are actually closing the whole platform down.
I mean, that's terrible. And, people think of, Ninja's a big name, but we've actually got, we've interviewed previously one of the other big names that admittedly has already been banned from Mixer and Twitch and almost every other streaming platform. But someone that's, came on and gave us a very candid interview. And you've got some news about how he's taken to this Microsoft
Yeah, no, I think Mixer was one of the few platforms that was occasionally allowing him to stream to his audience. And our good friend, well, I wouldn't say good friend because I think he hates our guts, but known to the podcast, Salty Tears Inflictor, or STI as he's sometimes known, charming podcast guest that we've had, has been caught taking a massive dump. This is a direct quote from the police report. Massive dump on Larry Major Nelson Herb's lawn while screaming, "Stick this in your goddamn mixer!"
Yeah, yes. I mean, this is very much one of the problems that he's had with streaming, is that his attitude is to, if losing or find something unpleasant, he will track that person down and defecate on their lawn. And he's gone straight to almost up the food chain on this one, hasn't he?
Oh yeah, no, he's really kind of gone to the top level of it, and I think because the plan is for Microsoft to partner with Facebook Gaming, and Salty Tears Inflictor is already banned completely from the Facebook platform. Something about thinking that female gamers shouldn't exist or be allowed to hold controllers. I didn't really read it too much. It seemed a bit too much like horrific bullshit. But yeah, he has a long-standing ban on Facebook. So if Microsoft do partner up with Facebook Gaming, that pretty much leaves all of the streaming platforms out as far as he's concerned.
And that would be a crying shame, I think, for the gaming community that STI or Salty Tears Inflictor won't be able to inflict his what do you call them? Teabag skills?
Teabag, yes, the totally brilliant, amazing game skills, I believe is what he called it, or teabag. I think it's probably quite important that the rest of the gaming community is protected from STI and everything that's connected to it, to be quite honest. So we did approach Microsoft for comment, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. They refused to comment on the closure of Mixer. But you did spot something in the news, I think, Dante, about Xbox overlord Phil Spencer.
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the things that really blows you and me away about Phil Spencer is the quality of his jacket. So anytime I see a picture of Phil Spencer in any kind of print media or on an online article, I'm checking out the jacket, and he's got a really swanky new jacket. And if you zoom in really closely, because that's kind of what I do, because I'm strange that way. You can see an FB monogram on the side of his newest, swankiest jacket.
Absolutely. Well, I've got another piece of news here.
All right.
Now, getting late into the year, we already spoiled the game, quite horrendously a few podcasts ago. But The Last of Us Part 2 has now been officially proclaimed better than every single movie ever made.
Every single movie?
Absolutely, and will make more money than Avengers Endgame and Gone with the Wind, adjusted for inflation, combined, and is probably better than most powerful movies such as Schindler's List, Lawrence of Arabia, all those kind of films. Better than those.
All those Holocaust dramas that win Oscars and that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It is. It's gonna go there. And even though technically not being a film, the game is tipped to win every single Oscar and Emmys this year. This year and next year into the awards season. That might have something to do with the fact that there aren't any films coming out at the moment. But also, I mean, wow, that is a pretty huge accolade. It's
that is pretty incredible for a game to be winning all these movie and TV awards and not being won by movies and TV. It's I mean, is this a unanimous thing? Is everyone across the board just completely in unison the fact that the that the game's amazing and is better than every other piece of recorded media ever committed to film or digital?
I mean, that's a good question. And I think the answer is absolutely yes. I think everyone is completely united in their view of The Last of Us Part 2 being an absolute classic. I myself, I'm only about 12 or 13 hours into the game, but already I've been moved so much that I've become dehydrated through crying, more so than I have done any other medium there. And I think, you've got to understand that, for example, Schindler's List is an incredibly powerful and important film, but it's only 2 hours long. Or 2.5 hours long. This is like 30 hours long. So just trying to keep that emotional, that emotion going for 30 hours, it's just draining. It just pulls it out of you. And so that's why it's 100% unanimous, except for the very loud set of people who say it is a bit too violent, some think it's the worst game ever, and some say that it is pushing a woke and SJW agenda down people's throats by having characters that reflect those that exist in real life and therefore should be burned on a big cross.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, reality is not important to some of these kind of gaming people about.
Exactly. So yeah, 100% unanimous, except for the people that really, really don't seem to like it and want everyone involved with it to off and die. So pretty much like every game ever made at the moment, it seems.
Yeah, no, I mean, okay, I've not played the first one or the second one. I'm imagining that there's probably a truthful or realistic viewpoint somewhere in the middle of all this, somewhere.
No. This is the gaming industry, Dante. We don't have a nuanced discussion. You've got something from our good old friends at Digital Paintings.
Digital Paintings. No way to be confused with Electronic Arts. They announced the next game to be released as part of their long-running exclusive rights to all of the Star Trek games. And they came up with this new game, this sort of new title. I didn't know where they came up with this one. They came up with Star Trek Starships. How can you come up with such originality? Yeah, wow. Anyway,
I don't know. I don't know.
Someone's being paid too much for that kind of innovation, I feel. Anyway, it's been around articles in the industry. Analysts at the moment are a little bit baffled by the release of a single player game. And we've got some quotes lined up from Rand Morbucks about how we got hit play on this one. Single player games are the absolute past. Nobody wants single-player games anymore. That is only the sort of thing that old people want and are not the sort of thing that gamers are into. Ren, do you mean the shareholders? Shut up! I don't mean the shareholders, I mean gamers. Anyway, that is not it. Anyway, single-player games, bad. Multiplayer online services, good. So yeah, we have that quote there from Rand Morbuck. I'm really not sure how some of this makes it into the media from what he says. He seems like a kind of a bit of a loose cannon when it comes to saying whatever the hell he wants to. Anyway,
he does make a lot of weird quotes. I will say that seem to make it onto our podcast.
They do. They really seem to make it onto our podcast. We seem to find them where the rest of the media doesn't seem to pick up on these things. It's almost like we're making it up out of our asses or something. Yeah, so, and apparently the Star Trek Starships is featuring no microtransactions or monetized content whatsoever.
Shut the front door.
I know, it's a complete, it's not the sort of thing we expect from Digital Paintings at the moment at all. I've got another quote lined up from the initial press conference about Star Trek Starships, Rand Morbucks himself making the announcement. If we just hit play on this one. And to delight all you gamers out there, the Star Trek Starships title will feature 0 microtransactions and monetizing. Is this right? Is this a typo? It's not a typo. What the f*** are we doing? So yeah, there's that too. Again, not sure how some of this gets past the media censors, but never mind. It's refreshing news, to be honest. Again, it feels like. It's the kind of game that Digital Paintings hates. They must be going through some serious self-loathing at the moment about the kind of products that they're putting out.
Exactly. I mean, I don't know. They're interested in doing more with this, aren't they? They're not just going to release this game. They want it to. They're going to put it into PSVR and VR helmets, and also bring it to their subscription service. What's the subscription service called again? Sorry, Dante.
DP shaft. It's all about the DP shaft. And there is some conspiracy theorists, although it might just be me, that think that the PSVR extension is going to feature subliminal micro messages that will make people actually sign up for the DP shafting.
Yeah, I mean, I know we should clear the reason they call it the DP shaft is because there's such a well of games in there. That's the whole point. It's a massive mine shaft of classics. That's the way they advertise it. But you're worried that obviously the VR version is going to be used to subliminally get people involved with that.
Yeah. No, it feels like the DP shaft is being kind of marketed from two directions, from like the in front direction where you see all the games that are on there, and this kind of more seedy backdoor method of
they're trying to get two. They're trying to do two things with it at once, aren't they? I think with the DP shaft.
Yes. No, absolutely. That's kind of the sort of thing we would expect from DP is for it to be happening in two places at once. Anyway.
Yeah, so let's perhaps move on to our final story. And this is something that we've got to get out of the way, really, I guess. That, for those who have been following the podcast, all three of you, we're obviously very excited here at Jambags, some more than other, about
some more than others.
Yeah, about
Mm-hmm.
Cyberpunk 2077, the new game coming from a very famous Polish studio who will remain nameless, and it has been delayed yet again. Just to be quite clear. Now, this has caused some issues here at Jambags HQ with our podcast recording. As you know, my co-host Dante Rodriguez is a fan of the studio.
Yes, I am,
and their previous work, and was, I understand from previous discussions, so quite looking forward to. Just come up. We talked about this. We're just coming to brief.
Okay, but
okay. So we're just going to let everyone know that it has been delayed by, a few more weeks. Put it in perspective, a few more weeks before you'll be able to get it, which will be later in the year now. And this has led to, and I'm just gonna talk as if you're not here for a second. I'll say to my esteemed colleague having what could be described as a full psychotic mental break from reality. So while we would suggest that, while it's on the podcast, it's safe to be. It's safe to be outside. If you were to see him, particularly in the vicinity of any game-related shops or stores or anywhere in public spaces, we do recommend that you call the authorities immediately. This has only been exacerbated by the fact that some critics and YouTubers who have viewers, unlike ourselves, have had some hands-on time with the game and are releasing some reaction videos to what they've played so far.
Yes, and I keep seeing it. I keep watching it. I keep thinking, oh my God, I want to get my hands on that game. And they got their hands on that game. And where is my copy, you fucking big f***s? Sorry.
So if you do see Dante, just remember to call the authorities and not to approach him. And it will be like this probably until November when the release date comes, or unless it turns out to be a steaming bag of shit. Metro Fauna?
No, Retro Corner.
So Dante, got a great idea for this month's Retro Corner.
Okay, I'm listening. What's the plan this time?
Well, this kind of ties into, we've never discussed in the podcast before, but I've always wanted to go on the BBC series Mastermind. Yeah, the one where you sit in the black chair. Yeah, exactly.
That chair looks really comfy. I could really do with that for working from home.
And I finally got my application to go on the show approved, and I'll be going on there in the next week.
Hey, nice one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now,
is it going to be broadcast, or when's it? Is it live?
So it's not live, but it's broadcast like a couple of days afterwards. So I might be able to sneak a segment onto this episode of podcast by the time I record it and edit it in. I might be able to actually put the results of it in. But the reason I'm going on it now is I've been racking my brains for years because it's very difficult. There's a lot of pressure on that show, and I've always thought, well, look, when it comes to the specialist subject, what would I choose?
Tricky.
And I thought, well, you know what? I need to be sneaky and clever about this. And I remember reading that, sound effects and so on, and sound trigger a response. It's, particularly response to nostalgia. So I came up with my specialist, round being, rather than questions, but being the introductory sounds for different games consoles through the generations, like the different, Sega or whatever, those kind of things that will come on. And it's going to just automatically invoke it. And the reason I got the idea was that I was playing my Nintendo GameCube, and it's got such a distinct sound.
That is a good one.
Exactly. And it just something I was like, you know what? As soon as I played it, I was like, what's GameCube? And I just knew it. And I thought, there is no way that I can lose if they play these sounds to me as my specialist one. I'll take my chances on the general knowledge, but for the specialist ones, boom, this is where I make up the points. So I am going to be on it next week, and I think there's a pretty good chance I'm going to win with this one.
Nice one. Okay. Well, can we get that early segment on now? Or
yeah, what we'll do is we'll end. I was coming to there now. I'll be on it next week, and then before we put the podcast out, I'll drop it in so it will seem seamless. Ready? So we'll just cut to it, and now.
Mr. Rudy Manchego, we would have some questions for your specialist subject round. Your specialist subject is activation sounds for game consoles over the past 30 years. Are you ready to begin?
Yes, I am ready. Thank you.
Okay, you have 2 minutes to answer as many questions as you can. Your time starts now.
Nintendo GameCube.
Wrong. That's the Panasonic 3DO. Question 2.
That would be the Nintendo GameCube.
Wrong. Sega Dreamcast. Question 3.
The Nintendo GameCube.
Wrong. Super Nintendo or SNES. Question 4.
The answer is Nintendo GameCube.
Wrong. Sony PlayStation. Question 5.
This is difficult because I know this one's regionally variants regionally, depending on the edition of the console. This one, come on, Rudy, you've got this. You're a big boy. Yep, Nintendo GameCube.
Wrong. Sega Mega CD. Question 6.
Okay, yeah, this one. Actually, come on. You're a big boy. Come on, you can do this. No one's watching. Nintendo GameCube.
No, incorrect. Atari Jaguar. Question 7. I think you might get this one, Mr. Manchego.
Oh, yeah. I have been waiting for this one. That would be the Sony PlayStation or PlayStation 1.
No. Nintendo GameCube, and your time is up, Mr. Manchego. 0 points.
I demand a recount, please.
And hello, Jambaggers. We are on to a segment that we've started to feature more and more on the podcast, and that is Jam to the Bag.
Head to head with Jam to Bag.
Now, this is our discussion or debate section where we talk about something that we maybe disagree on, and this is something that we disagree on big time, and that is which version of the next generation of consoles we will be buying. What's your take on that, Rudy?
Yeah, I mean, this is the big fight. This is the console war to end all console wars since the last console wars. Now, obviously, we've got a few ground rules when we get into this discussion. We are leaving Nintendo out of this because they are irrelevant when it comes to console gamers, because they don't keep beefing up their graphics. They focus more on gameplay, gaming experiences, fresh ways to play games. We don't want.
Who cares about having fun in games these days? No.
Yeah, we don't want any of that shit. That's right out the window. They are not included. They are relegated. Yeah, this is anyone who wants to play with them isn't a real gamer. And the other thing we're not going to include is going to be PC gamers and the PC master race. Okay, because all you're going to get with this discussion is, but you can get a PC that could do better than all your game consoles. Well, that's ridiculous because exactly, because you have to like buy stuff and bolt them in and plug wires in and shit like that. And that's not what real gamers do. Real gamers buy something that's pre-made, pre-packaged, and heavily marketed towards profit going on something else. That's what a real gamer does, okay? So we're going to leave out the PC master race, or so-called master race. We're going to focus on the most important things to come out of gaming since the last thing that was important to come out of gaming. And that is PlayStation 5 versus Xbox Series X. Now, we've got two corners on this today, and it's been difficult from a color coordination perspective. But now in the white corner is myself, Rudy Manchego, with PlayStation 5. I will be buying PlayStation 5 either at launch or close to launch. And you, Mr. Dante Rodriguez?
I will be in the black corner, where I'll be picking up my my Xbox Series X, hopefully on day one. I have saved so much money during lockdown from not driving around the place that I've actually put aside enough already for my Xbox Series X into my savings account. So unless I have some sort of major disaster between then and now, I think I have enough money for what I'm hoping the price point is going to be for the new one. And there's a lot of rumours about that, and it's hard to kind of get a definitive take on what the price is going to be for each of these two consoles. But
so let's start on that point as our first topic, as we get into this battle royale of which only one person can emerge victorious, which will be me. Right, if we can just say, what would that price point be for you?
Well, I've put aside £500 for it just in case. The latest rumor I heard that the Series X might be coming in at $400, which I would imagine would be something like £350 to £400 probably, and that seems quite reasonable to me. It seems like last gen prices.
Well, I mean, that is an interesting price. Yes, I mean, I believe the gens came in more expensive at launch, but I do know that the PlayStation 4 Pro came in at, I think, £350 at launch, and I think the Xbox One X came in at, what was that? Was that £400 or 450?
Yeah, 429, I think, is what I mean. I did kind of toy with the idea of getting one over the past year, but I thought I'd just kind of save my money and get the Series X when that comes out. But yeah, I think you can still, for the recommended price or the kind of bundle prices, it's about £400 for the One X.
And I mean, gosh. So you're saying that your sweet spot would be the 350, £400 mark. That'd be your sweet spot. You're willing to go to 500. What if it was £600? Let's just throw that out there. Okay, this is next gen technology. Yeah,
if it's next gen technology, if it was £600, I unless I was able to save a fair amount during this lockdown and without having to drive my car around, it's entirely possible. But I still think that maybe £600 is a bit on the pricey side for any new console. I think I probably wouldn't get it on day one if it was £600. I'd wait for a price drop.
See, I want the PlayStation 5 to be £600. I don't want other people to be able to play it. It's that good that if you can't afford it, you shouldn't have it.
Sure, that sounds like the kind of thing that will definitely drive up high amounts of sales and
it's the
victory in the console wars.
It's the Apple route, which is that if you can't afford it, then you shouldn't have it. It's the way that Apple go, and I think that in this competition, Sony are just the classier team. So there you go. That's one thing I think should happen. But let's move on to the next thing. What is it about the Xbox Series X that makes you want to get that over the far superior PlayStation 5?
I would say the sheer number of flops involved, because everyone loves a good flop, and the Xbox has got more flops than the PlayStation 5 has got flops.
So you're saying that, the floppage is more important, particularly terafloppage is more important?
Yes, terafloppage, in particular teraflops, as well as any other flops that might be around. I think the Xbox Series X has something like 12 teraflops, whereas the PlayStation 5 has something like 10.3, something like that.
Yeah, but it's, as I tell my wife, it's what you do with those flops that's really important. And I think what you're missing out with the terafloppage is that, the PlayStation might have a slightly smaller terafloppage, but it will put far more effort.
Size really does matter.
Not at all. It will put far more effort into it. It will put far more effort into playing those games for you than the Xbox, which will be lazy. It will just coast on the sides of its floppage. Whereas the PlayStation 5 will go that extra step to make sure that it gives you everything it can.
Because it knows deep down that it's an inferior console and has to go and has to do all that extra effort. Whereas, when something's a more impressive flop, then you don't need to do all that. You just
absolutely not, because there's an element of arrogance to come across with size. And I think the key thing is that, if it was just floppage on its own, maybe that argument would hold up. But it's floppage is one area where, yes, it's not as big, but it works harder. And then the other places make up for it. It's a bit like, sure, you could say that perhaps, in size terms, it's not as big, but as a complete package, it's what people are going to look for and they're going to want to settle down and keep for a long time. So I think your floppage argument is flawed.
Sure. No, I think I'll be quite happy enjoying every single last one of those flops more than the PS5 will be able to give to me, because I think I'll just feel it in every part of it, and it'll just be it'll be so kind of all consuming and just fill up all my gaming needs with all the extra floppage.
And see, this is where I'm going to counter your floppage with how hard the drive is, because the advanced SSD components in the PS5 are going to mean that you don't have to wait at all to get into the action. So whereas your size is going to take a while to boot up, it's going to need coaxing up to get to that kind of speed and ramping enough, the PS5 will get straight to its pinnacle really, really quickly. No load times, no waiting to get into things. The PS5 hard drive will get hard instantly, so quickly and on demand, and it will go back down again if it needs to and come back up again. You won't ever have to wait. It'll go hard, the drive will go hard, and then it will go low again and then hard again. It's going to make such a difference, so much more difference than terafloppage, because it's about, you might slowly surely get a bit more terafloppage out once you build up to it, but you could have had, on demand, you can have a hard drive.
Okay. I doubt that the hard drive in the Series X will be any kind of slouch in terms of access times and speed. So I think this is probably all going to level out eventually. But I am going to throw back in your face the sheer size of it, because the PS5, at launch at least, will only have an 825 gigabyte harder drive, if you like. But the Xbox Series One X is going to have a full terabyte.
Yeah, that sounds important until you understand what the harder drive is giving you. In the, right now, you download, Modern Warfare, yeah? That's a beast of a game. What is it, 200 gigs it's up to now?
I don't care, but yeah, go on.
Something huge, right? If you download a game that size, that's a big bag beast. Thing is, though, I don't play online. I just want the Moustache Bloke single-player campaign. I don't give a shit about the online stuff, yeah? On the Xbox Series X, you've got to download those whole 200 gigs. There goes, you're down to the 800 already. Not so on the PlayStation 5. You can part download the bits that you want, because that's the way the SSD works. So you can say, I don't want the multiplayer shizzle. I just want the single player. I'm just going to have that. Or I don't want a single player campaign. I just want the multiplayer component. You can choose what you download. It means that your download sizes and updates will be far insignificant. So maybe it's got out of the box, it's got a slightly smaller drive, but you won't need as big a drive because you can choose what points in it you download, and that's such a big deal.
Sure. Okay. No, that's whatever. If that's what's driving you about it, that's fine. I'm quite happy with a larger, a full terabyte hard drive. To be quite honest, because generally the type of games I play, which tend to be big open world exploration games, I want the whole lot anyway. So I'm going to need extra space for various incarnations of Assassin's Creed from over the years that I'll be playing on my Xbox Series X. Go ahead.
Well, I would have counted that again, which is to say that, you see, I've got Assassin's Creed Odyssey on the Xbox One, and it's got horrendously long load times in there. It takes ages, plus all the DLC packs and all the other bits of crap. Not going to be the case with the PlayStation 5 Hardy SSD, in that the load times, particularly in world, will be absolutely negligible. They will be able to load entire environments without the need for loading animations or loading screens. Boom. Ain't going to be the case with Xbox Series X, I imagine.
Yeah, but again, I haven't heard any data on the Xbox Series X's access times either. So
because there is no data, because it's still loading.
Because they've not released it yet.
No, because it's still loading.
It's not still loading. It's still loading in your ads.
The demo is still loading. That's why. It's how long it takes to load. They still haven't managed to start a game yet. They started 2 months ago. Whereas whereas Sony have already completed 4 games.
I'm gonna throw out possibly the only exclusive of note, because I think you're probably going to beat me on this one. Hellblade Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 is going to be exclusive to Xbox Series X.
Have you played Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice on current gens?
I have not. I have it downloaded in my backlog to do. So once I finish off Dishonored 2, that's probably going to be my next game. Yeah,
it's an absolutely fantastic game. My argument would be, does it need a sequel? And if you've played the game, if you know, does it need a sequel? Can you build on the first game? Remains to be seen. Are they just stretching it out? Possibly not. However, countering that, what games have we got at launch? Does Demon's Souls need a remaster? Yeah, hell does. Because if you're into Soulsborne games, you want to play Demon's Souls. You can only play on PS3 at the moment. The game's pretty expensive secondhand. It's a bit wonkles, and the multiplayer has been shut down. People want to be able to play this classic, the game that started the whole Soulsborne genre. They want to be able to play that, and they're going to be able to play it. And look at the flashy graphics. You not see the trailer? Big monsters. And then you got that. Boom, that's coming out near launch. What else have you got? Look, a standalone Spider-Man Miles Morales game, not Spider-Man 2, a side game which is going to be an extension of the Spider-Man game with Miles Morales. That's awesome. What's out? What else you got? Ratchet and Clank, another exclusive. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think I'll have that as well. Do you not see the graphics? The Ratchet and Clank on PS4 was amazing. What a great game. This could be, and some of the other indies on there.
I'll give you Miles Morales. I will give you Miles Morales. I will also give you Horizon 2 Forbidden West, which also looks like it's going to
I haven't got to that. Look at how beautiful that game looked. Again, the first game was so good, and it's expanding the story, the mythos, and look at the big war elephants. It's like Lord of the Rings on robot crack. It was amazing.
Yeah. To be quite honest, I think that the pros for each one is going to. I think the pros for each one of the other is going to sort of cancel out the other one, if that makes sense. I think the more power of the Xbox Series X will make up for the let's say lack of innovation, perhaps on the new style of hard drive on the on the Series X. Whereas again, a slightly less powerful processor. Again, it's probably just going to level out. To be honest, I know we kind of want to set up a nice big debate where we have a big old console war where we claim that we hate each other and that these two things are going to be so different. And one's going to be shit and one's going to be great.
What are you doing? With that, the whole point of this feature is that we have a massive, bust up about this. That sounds utterly. You're suggesting that this is a nuanced debate, that there are both sides have got equal valid points, and that equally they're both great systems. This is the internet. This is what you're doing. This is our entire point of this. Is that.
Okay, I think your stupid-looking white PS5 is going to be shit-looking, and it looks like a Volvo or something.
Yeah, well, you know what? I like Volvos, I think. I'm just going to Google pictures of that. Wait a sec. Yeah, I do like Volvos, actually. Yeah, so and you know what? I like it to take a bit of a risk. What have you got? You've got a block of Lego. It's just a big
old block
Lego.
Of big black brick with a disk drive in the side of it. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. What have I got? I've got a sexy white Volvo that I want to slip a disk straight into.
You're going to rest your chin between that thing, are you? To be honest, I personally dislike the look of the new controller, and I've always disliked the PlayStation controllers, but this one I think is going to be even worse than the one we've got.
That is because
I know that the Series X.
That's because you're cat-handed. We've had this discussion before. You can't use
No, it's because
properly.
I don't have girly little Trump hands. I have a man hands, not like you.
It's
and
because
that
you don't know how to use a
guy.
controller. You're like, I must invert the controls again because I can't play it. No, it's you'll keep. It's going to be. The controller's got haptics, going to have feedback and sensors on it. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be like a fleshlight controller. It's amazing.
A fleshlight controller, yeah, that sounds
Exactly.
like something you'd know all about. No, I am quite happy with the fact that
Your mum
the
knows
Series
about
X controller is going to be much the same as the Xbox One, which was much the same as the Xbox 360 controller, with some slight differences, but with the thing that I was always jealous about of the PS4 controller, the fact that you don't need a play and charge kit. It's already got the, it'll have the micro USB, or I think it's the USB-C input into it, so that you don't need to buy extra cradles to charge your controllers up, and you'll just be able to plug it straight into the console and it'll be absolutely fine. So
that's only been
I'm happy with
15, 20
Microsoft
years.
Controller.
Microsoft have finally caught up. PS3 did that. PS4 did that. I was going to say
Better late than never. It's a sensible upgrade, apart from the really quite bizarre looking PS5 controller, which a lot of people seem to think is just trying to copy an Xbox controller anyway. I'm quite happy with what I'm seeing in terms of the controller, and that has always been the thing that I've liked more about the Xbox since switching to it in the 360 days, is that
because you don't,
even though the controller looks a bit
you don't
weird,
embrace innovation. You don't embrace innovation. That's my point. This PS5 is about innovation. It's about a
how
new
is that
generation.
innovation? It looks dumb. It doesn't look like it's going to be any better.
What do you mean it looks dumb? It looks like a controller.
It looks like a slightly more rounded version of the DualShock. Or was it a DualSense or something?
It's called DualSense for PlayStation 5 because, again, evolution rather than whatever the chunky that Microsoft's peddling. And also, if you look really closely at the detailing on the back, done little X's and squares and circles, just like the controllers. That's detail. It's haptic feedback. It can give you. It can, it doesn't just vibrate. It's haptic. The entire thing will give you different sensations across the entire plane. That's amazing. That's just new tech.
Okay, I don't know what haptic means, but sure. Okay, whatever.
It means the entire thing can give you physical sensation on your hands rather than just having a rumble. It could, for example, I don't know, make your thumb vibrate or your fingers go gooey. I don't know, but it's pretty awesome.
I'm not sure I want gooey fingers when I get my controller going up. So,
you'll have them.
Yeah, well. Sweaty fingers is one thing, but yeah, no, I'm good with the Microsoft controller. I think there's a small amount of improvement into what's going on with it, and I don't know much about what's actually on the inside of it, whether it's in terms of the way it shakes around. But I think they've learned a lot from the Elite controller, and they've taken bits of that and put it into the new Xbox Series X controller, and I'm absolutely fine with that.
Right, let's just cut this short, okay, guys? Dante here, because I was going to be quite clear. Okay, your PC-like box that you're buying from Microsoft is going to be inferior to my PC-like box that I'm going to buy from Sony in every single way, except for the ways when they're alike, and that makes you a f***ing idiot.
Okay. I think that my PC-like box that's very, very square is going to be much better than your PC-like box that looks like a very, very white vagina, because reasons, even though the spec is almost identical, that there are some things are better on one, some things are better on the other, that's probably going to level things out, and you're probably going to get most of the same games on one as you do as the other, and they'll play probably about the same. But apart from all that, mine's great, yours sucks, and you're a bell end.
So, Jambaggers, what do you think about this debate? What consoles will you be getting? Or are you a loser who buys PCs and Nintendo Switches?
Don't alienate people.
Absolutely, Dante. So, help me manage to persuade you to buy a PlayStation 5 like you really should? Or are you going to be a complete loser like Dante and buy an Xbox Series X? Again, Jambaggers, this is coming to the end of our monthly gaming podcast for this month. But we do have some questions from our listeners, a few that they are. So every month we do put a shout out on social media before we record the podcast, if we remember, to see if anyone's got any questions. And, hopefully we get a few questions here and there that we can talk about. And we actually have a few for us today. So we've got a couple from long-time collaborator, General Lawson, do person with beef with, Dazzleator. from Any Button Gaming.
Oh yes, got to get that beef. We need to work on that beef at some point. I don't think we've mentioned it all podcast.
We haven't. Would it be? I've done it out of respect because of time of recording. So Any Button Gaming have launched their YouTube channel and also are getting on with their Twitch streaming as well. And I've also launched their own podcast. So hats off to those guys. But they have had a breach and someone has stolen a load of Steam codes as of today. Literally, I noticed that they mentioned on social media.
Such a dick move, whoever did that. I'm going to go on the record and say that was a dick move by whoever did that.
Yeah, we are not responsible for that. I just want to be clear on that because there's an internet beef and then there's theft, and that's just two different things. And we're not those kind of douches. So we've laid off those guys because today's a difficult day for them. So we're also not gonna refer to it by having a good set of answers. So let's go to Dazzleator's first question here, and it's got two good questions. But the first one is favorite game protagonist and antagonist. So Dante, let's start with your favorite game protagonist, and then mine, and we'll do antagonist. So
okay, so favorite game protagonist. I'm probably gonna go with Geralt from the Witcher series, from Witcher 3 in particular.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, popular choice.
And I think he's he's not like the nicest guy all the time. I just like the fact that he can be doing things sort of altruistically and still feel quite comfortable in requesting a fee for his services. I think that's just part of the Witcher world as well, and how he fits into it, and just the kind of some of the humor that comes through in that game, where the Geralt puts across, as well as some of the serious dramatic moments. I think Geralt is a good all rounder in terms of abilities and magic, as well as swordplay, and I think he's got good personality, and I enjoy the experience of playing as Geralt. Do we want to do antagonists after, or do you want to?
We do protagonists first. So my one was one I had to wrap my brains about because there's so many great characters in gaming, and I sort of started thinking about there's some really great narrative games out there that have got very realistic characterizations, some absolutely fantastic ones out there. But then I thought, well, actually, that's a bit of a cop out, and I thought I'd go for something more mainstream. And this is an interesting one for me. I've chosen Kratos from the God of War series. And I've chosen Kratos not because I like him in the majority of his games, but with the release of 2018's God of War, the sequel to the original sort of 4 games, well, technically 6 games if you include the PSP games that had come before it on PlayStation 2, 3, PSP. The character is an absolute one-dimensional head. He's just angry on the original PlayStation 2 games and PlayStation 3, and he gets double-crossed, and his answer is to kill everyone. And yes, he's, there is some, reasons for his revenge and stuff like that with his family, but he's just an arsehole, and he's got no sympathy. To be honest, you're just in it to see Mastermind like punish and destroy loads of mythical creatures and gods. You don't play for the character who does nothing apart from snarl and get angry. But then God of War 2018 came out, and it's the same character, same universe, not a reboot, but it's set many, many years after the last sort of chronological game, and it's really about someone who is an absolute bastard, who's had a son, and is having to deal with. He's now got to raise his son on his own. I'm not spoiling it. That is literally the first scene in the game. That's laid out, and is in all the trailers. And he evolves in a person, but not in a kind of Hollywood slushy way. He evolves in a way that makes sense to the person he was in the previous games, and it harkens back to the previous games in some really interesting ways about how he was not making the same mistakes. It's just a great making you care about a character who's a massive douche in previous games, and actually adding a layer to it. And I think it's kind of a great, I wouldn't say it's a redemption story in the sense of like, oh, he's suddenly a good guy, because that isn't the way that it plays out, but a redemption story from the sense of a character of someone that was kind of like, I'm not interested in this character, to someone that actually is like, oh my gosh, they've used that character development, which was non-existent, and then played that into the main point of this new game of who he was and how he acts to other characters. So I'm going to say that one because it's just really interesting role reversal, and to do that all within the AAA game space, as it's called.
Gene
Sterning's in there. AAA game space is interesting. I would expect a lot of other great writing, in particular in smaller games where they really focus on character development. But this one is when you're seeing this development on AAA games. There you go. But what about antagonists for you, Dante?
Okay.
The baddies.
Now, before I talk about my antagonist, I'm going to put a full-scale spoiler warning. Anyone that has not played the first BioShock game to its completion, skip ahead a minute or two on this one because I'm going to be talking about the antagonist of that. So spoilers start here. That would be Atlas or Fontaine from the first BioShock game. So at the start of the game, Atlas is kind of your guide through the early parts of it. He's kind of telling you what to do, how to take on the big daddies and all that sort of stuff. And then I think maybe 2/3 through the game, where the first antagonist, Andrew Ryan, also well worth a mention, is defeated. And it turns out that you've been a pawn in Atlas's or Fontaine's little game throughout the entire narrative, using the well-known, hopefully you know this by the time if you're listening to this point on the podcast, the "would you kindly" twist, where every time Atlas says the word "would you kindly," you are psychologically compelled to carry out the action that he's given to you. So you've sort of taken out his competition, and the way he sort of kind of betrays you and goads you towards the final part of the game is really quite well done, and really got under your skin because of that setup at the beginning of the game where he's your guide.
Wow, you have, if no one has played BioShock, there is no point now. You have blown that game wide apart. But yeah, I'm not going to argue
spoilers end soonish.
That is one of the classic villains, I think, of not just so built into the twist and the narrative is a villain that it's great. And I think I was completely shocked at that point that was the case, because I think it plays in a lot of ways as a very bog standard game, with the fact of you've got this unseen person helping you, telling you where to go and what to do. That's such a stereotype of video games. It's that kind of almost like a narrator does the exposition and stuff and introduces you to the world. Yes. You're like, okay, yeah, I've accepted it, and at some point you meet them, or they'll be about, but this one turns out to be that you're being manipulated the whole game. It's probably classic. Mine, on the other hand, absolutely. Is going to be a bit of a low-key one, and I'm going to go with, for those that have played The Last of Us, the first game. I haven't completed the second game. I'm still partway through it. But this is on The Last of Us, is David, who is a human survivor that Ellie and Joel come across on their trek across post-pandemic America. When I say post-pandemic America, I don't mean what's happening right now, which is nowhere near post, in the middle of it. I mean one where the cordyceps turned everyone to zombies or humans and monsters. And again, spoiler warning, I'm not going to spoil it too much what happens with this character.
Please don't, because I've not played it.
But you know from seeing him that he's a baddie, but you don't know why he's a baddie, and that's what's so great about it. He's so reasonable, but you get the vibe, because no one's nice in this world. That's established in the first 2 seconds of the game. This is a brutal world, and you're kind of waiting for it. But the way that that's unveiled and the way that character develops in the relationship with your protagonist at that point in the game is just unnerving. And I think it's a great performance by Nolan North, who, people would recognize most as Nathan Drake, the cheeky kind of chap. He plays this kind of such a creepy guy. It's the kind of, and I don't want to spoil it for you, Dante, so I'm not going to. But as I said, the first moment you see him on screen, you sense he's wrong un, but you can't see how he is, because it's just so well played and so well acted. And I think it's someone that just really, really, it has an indelible mark upon the characters. He's not necessarily the big bad either. It's not like there is no real central antagonist, in The Last of Us, but he's a character you meet that causes adversity to character, and it's just a great character. When I think of baddies, it makes you skin
he's
crawl.
up there, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's those ones that really kind of make your skin crawl and get under your, kind of really get to you. Like certainly, I mean, we've both played BioShock. We know about Fontaine, and I'm sure he sounds like very much in the same kind of mold. Someone who really makes you feel like you've been sort of betrayed or hurt or something like that. Or
yeah, exactly. I think you can recognize these people in real life as well. They're exaggerated, but you've all seen someone, you see in the media and stuff like that, the people behind the scenes, people like Fontaine, the chancers who do terrible things to profit themselves. Or in this case, with David, someone that, you've met someone who gives you that feeling, and, you're like, this isn't legit, this isn't right. But anyway, that's our two. Next question from the Dazzlator is favorite first party exclusive for each platform. Current gen only. He notes current gen. So we're going to talk here Xbox One, PS4 and Switch.
Oh, he's me. This question is it really does not benefit me and my tribe at all. If I could go back to the 360, I could say Alan Wake. I could say Mass Effect 1. But, okay, current gen. You go first. I'm going to need a while on this one.
Okay, I'm going to go start off. I'll start off with the Switch. I'm just going to say I'm going to be really boring with the Switch and just say Zelda Breath of the Wild. First game I played for it. A unique game, really changes the franchise up. Really like the game. Really awesome. The Switch has got some good exclusives, but actually most of the games I prefer on it are tend to be indie games that are available cross-platform. So I want to go with Zelda Breath of the Wild. So that's my Nintendo Switch choice. Okay. Have you got anything on the Switch?
I don't have one. I have never played a Switch game. I would like to play Breath of the Wild. I'd like to give that a try, but at the moment I don't play any Nintendos at all. I mean, I've got my SNES Mini, and I did start Super Metroid, and I have been enjoying it as you've recommended it to me several times.
Best game ever.
Yeah, that's definitely not current gen, is it?
No, it came out in 1994. Anyway. How about, so you want to move on to PlayStation 4? And then we'll do Xbox
that's
One
a little
last?
Easier.
Yeah.
Okay,
you go.
PlayStation 4 for me is the Spider-Man reboot game that came out, what was it, 2016, something like that?
It just 2018. 2018.
Oh, 2018, okay. Well, it was just so slick and so smooth, and it did everything right. I mean, technically, I still prefer the PS2 Spider-Man game. That's still my favourite Spider-Man adaptation for in all video games. But this is a very close second, and it's everything looks brilliant about it. The characters are all well drawn. It's from a part of the Marvel universe you don't see as much as the kind of movie Spider-Man. It's more the comic Spider-Man, and sort of later into his career, which I think was a really smart move on Marvel's part there. And it's just so much fun to play. The web slinging just feels really nice, just to be able to kind of get up on top of those rooftops and swing from building to building. So the Spider-Man reboot from Insomniac Games, if I recall rightly. How about you?
Yeah. Well, this one is tough. I'm not just doing it to laud my Sony pony views on the world. I would say that this generation, Sony, regardless of other equipment, has produced some absolute cracking exclusives, and an awful lot of them as well. And I think across different genres, and it's been really hard for me to choose. So I mean, this generation we've had titles like Horizon Zero Dawn, which has been absolutely cracking. Yeah. We've had, which I know some of these games are coming to PC, but I'm just going to say that these are exclusives for the console exclusives for the purpose of these. What else have we had? Detroit Become Human's been a console exclusive. Bloodborne, God of War, spectacular title.
God of War.
Some smaller games like Until Dawn. Obviously Spider-Man, as you've mentioned. Days Gone. Last of Us Part 2 is coming out, which I can't rank yet. I haven't played it. We've still got Ghost of Tsushima coming out. There's been some cracking VR games, which I'm going to exclude from this list as well, which I think are up there, like Astrobot. Awesome game. I think the new Iron Man game that's coming out in a few weeks is going to be the tits as well. I mean, there's Gravity Rush 2. What a great game. Neo 2.
All right.
I mean,
there are more better exclusives.
Everybody's gone to the
Raptures.
Everybody's gone to the Raptures. One of my favourite indie games of all time on there. What am I going to choose though? I think possibly the most groundbreaking game, and people would disagree with me, on PlayStation 4 is the God of War 2018 game, because not just what it did technically, which was the full seamless one take thing, but it really, I said it earlier in my previous answer, but it took a character that was a bit of a douchebag and made him interesting in a game that was just a really well written storytelling with some really, really good challenging combat in there as well. The sensation of throwing an axe and it lodging in someone's head, then pressing a button and it coming back to your hand whilst going through other enemies as it comes back to you doesn't get old. It's one of the best mechanics in the game I've ever played. But I'm going to be controversial a bit and go with, I forgot Uncharted 4 and Uncharted Lost Legacy. Two also cracking games. And the Uncharted collection. But I'm going to go with Bloodborne because I'm not a Dark Souls fan in the sense of I don't really get on with these games. I'm not doing it like I'm one of those get good kind of guys, regardless of what I said at the start of this podcast. I've been told off since then. But the world, I love the gothic world and the horror and the gameplay and the bleak story and the horribleness. I'm just totally into it, and I've played it so many times. And I think that I will, always keep, just for the merest hint of a sequel or a remaster, I will keep buying Sony games because I've just put over 100 plus hours easily into it. As I said, I've played it through 3 times now, one of which on New Game Plus. I played all the Chalice dungeons. I have played almost all the DLC. I'm still stuck on the Orphan Cos, but to be honest, that's just because I took a break from it. But I love it. So that's my current gen games. Let's go on to Xbox One.
Oh, the tough one. Okay, I am gonna have to go with the Gears of War game, Gears of War 5. Even though I've really only scratched the surface of the campaign, it's one of the few decent exclusives out there. I've played the multiplayer modes a few times and had a lot of fun just kind of doing the horde modes, the waves and waves, just to kind of de-stress from other games in a way. And I think it's a well-made game. The voice acting is good. The graphics are great. The weapons feel sort of real and well put together. And Gears of War 5.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to argue. That's probably going to be sort of my choice. What I might throw in there's a few others. Microsoft did more of a thing this generation of timed exclusives. So games like Tacoma and Inside, sorry, from the makers of Limbo, they came out exclusively to Xbox for a year or so before they came to other platforms, but now they're on multi-platforms. I'd say Ori Will of the Wisps was I've only played a bit of it, and I'm being a bit rubbish. I've played it. However, that's come to Nintendo Switch now. Thinking about it. So if you read true exclusives, I'm probably going to have to go with Gears 5, which goes to show some pickers. Now, I do think it's a really good game. I really enjoyed it. It's definitely probably the best Gears game since Gears 2. I certainly enjoyed it more than 3 and certainly more than 4. 4 wasn't a bad game. It wasn't great. Gears 5, they had a good story, looked gorgeous, played really well. Had a protagonist that I enjoyed as well. I thought she was a really good protagonist in it as well. That's it. Gears 5 as well, I think, for me. Now I can't go with Ori since it's on the platforms.
Could possibly mention that. I mean, it's kind of the other obvious one for Xbox is the Forza Horizon games. Particularly 3, I found a lot of fun. I quite like Horizon 4, but it was set in England, and if I want to go and drive around England, I'll just go outside and drive rather than kind of go onto a game and do it. But Forza Horizon 3, the Australia setting was a nice kind of exotic place to get around and explore.
Okay, yeah, so there's our answers, I think.
Forza Horizon.
There you go. Thanks very much, Dazzleator. We've got a final question from someone to come from our Facebook feed. I'm not going to reveal their full name, but we're going to go by the name of Robbles. So thanks very much, Robbles, for sending this question in. Thanks, and it's an interesting one. I actually really like this question because it's something that I have noticed as well. But Robbles asks, do you think that the games companies deliberately let players hack older versions of online games? Every now and again, I switch on the PS3 thinking I will enjoy a game with an older COD. 5 minutes in, I'm killed by an invisible person from a cloud 10 times. Who are these people that play with cheats like that? I mean, no big deal. It's not like losing his sleep over it than what appears to be potentially someone losing their mind, crying and laughing. No, I'm joking. Just laughing. But it's something that I've experienced myself with someone going back to older games. I remember when I very first got my 360, which was quite a way into that console's life, I went on to Halo 3, I think. Still a quite big player base. So this is probably several years after launch. Certainly not when it was a new game. I think I got it for a few pounds secondhand. Tried playing it online multiplayer. Yeah. Got my head kicked in by people doing like shots, like leaping over things and headshotting me from 3 miles away. Yeah. And it's a good one. Have you ever experienced something similar, Onto?
Again, I think because I came to online gaming fairly late, and certainly things like Halo, I got owned by a few people. I never really noticed large amounts of cheating or modding necessarily. I just assumed it's because I was rubbish. But I think no, I've not seen it as much. I think during the 360 era, I did play a bit of online gaming, some of the CODs. I even went to midnight launches from time to time, but eventually I kind of came back to single player games where you don't see that practice quite as much. So, but I did hear about it from other people that play in those kind of spheres. What's your take on the question? Do you think developers are keen to encourage this? Do they not care?
I think there's 2 points there. I think first of all, when it comes to developers, you hit the nail on the head there. They don't care. I think if it's an old game, I think if it's still in the public eye, the servers are up, they're still making game sales and microtransactions and whatnot from it and making cash off it, then they'll be on that stuff really, really quickly. Well, I think once a game gets a bit older, you know, of old online games. They'll keep the servers open. They want people on them. People might still be spending some money on it, but actually what they want to do is
be happy to have the attention. I think.
Exactly. And I think they're happy to foster players on there rather than do anything. So I wouldn't be surprised if they turn a bit of a blind eye to it if they don't not monitor it, not for cheaters or for all that kind of stuff, or people that do unsound practices. Whereas they might be on top of it, moderating them, kicking those people out. I think they don't really care. So I don't think they deliberately. I'm not sure if they deliberately let them, but I think they let them in the sense of they don't care enough, and they just think, well, actually, if people on there are caring enough to cheat, perhaps they're going to buy stuff and still engage with the game and keep it slightly more relevant for longer. So, yeah, the PR's really minimal on this. No one's going to complain.
I think if it's not costing them any money, they're just gonna kind of, like you say, turn a blind eye to it. If it was something to do with getting microtransactions for free, I don't care how old the game it is. I think they would probably be much more on top of something like that. Yeah.
And lastly, I think that a game that's been out for a long time that still has a dedicated player base, and you know, a lot of previous gen games still do. Like I know, for example, you know, on PS3 era, that the kill zones, a lot of the COD games, you know, Black Ops, etc., still have a community on there. As Robbles here has said, they do have some people that go on there regularly and play. But if these games are years old, these people playing online have probably learned every trick in the book. You know, and the reasons they keep coming back to it is that they are just, you know, played this game for years and they know probably every inch of the map. They know every exploit of the map, you know, where you can leap off to get the best stuff. They probably are essentially that good. And I know for a fact that, you know, when I was on Halo, that there might have been proper cheaters on there. In fact, I'm convinced of it because, like, some of the guys in there are supposed to be an amateur sort of, you know, arena, and I wasn't. That'd be guys doing
a lobby,
but lobby. But these guys were, you know, but I saw people like literally leaping off cliffs. One headshot me as they leaped through the air. And if they weren't out flat out cheating, then they were just really, really flipping good and using me as cannon fodder target practice to laugh at the noob. So yeah, I mean, I do think, you know. I do think that, yeah, if you're not, as part of the thing is that they want you to encourage you to buy new games. So it's kind of like, you know, you're still enjoying a game you bought in PS3 era. Good on you. That's great. You know, we should be able to do that. But, you know, what they really want you to do is be buying, God, 40 million, you know, 42 from, you know, on the latest game and playing on the latest hardware and buying the microtransactions. So,
and I suppose, you know, I mean, like a douchebaggy cheater on one of those old games might make you think, oh, I'll move on to a newer game that hasn't had the opportunities to be exploited or modded by people just yet.
Well, completely. You know, I think, you know, yeah, modders or hackers and stuff like that. I just know they'll get shut down too quickly on new games. You know, so there won't be any fun on it. Yeah. Anyway, that was a great question, and quite a sorry if we went into a bit too much detail there for everyone, but I actually really enjoyed that one. So thank you for that, Robbles. I think it's pretty much time to round things up. So Dante, we have various ways in which people can listen to us, watch us. Well, not literally watch us in a kind of weird voyeuristic way, but they can watch content that we produce and engage with us. So shall I cover off where you can hear us and watch us, and you cover off the socials?
Yeah, go for it.
Cool.
Instead of testing me each time.
Yeah, exactly. I was testing you. I noticed that. I was trying to, you know, do something a bit differently this week. So, yeah, we obviously have I'll start again. We have the Jambags Gaming Podcast, which you're listening to right now, and you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and pretty much all good RSS feed-based podcast players if you want to check us out there, as well as Stitcher, I believe, that we're on. We also have a YouTube channel, which is on Jambags. You just search for Jambags, you'll find us. We put a audio version, obviously, of the podcast with a slight background video onto that at launch on YouTube, if you prefer to listen to us there. But we also put other content on there. We every few weeks when we put a video out or so, we just put one recently about the Evercade Retro console. Dante, you have one in the works, which is you've been planning for a while now, to do with Lego games.
Yes, no, a big shout out to the Squire of Twitch for suggesting this one, that essentially the good natured, family friendly Lego City game, which I've become slightly addicted to. Well, I find it's a very different experience when I turn up the Doom 2016 soundtrack and walk my way through that particular area. So I think that the rest of our Jambag listeners and watchers might find it quite humorous to see me taking on the people of Lego City in a way which I don't think they're expecting. So that's that video I'm working on at the moment.
Fantastic. And as well, if you can do on any of these platforms, if you can like and subscribe on YouTube, it makes a big difference. Obviously, we really like that. If you could leave a review, if you liked it, if you don't, piss off. But if you'd like to, leave a review, particularly on Apple Podcasts, all it means, the almighty algorithms might actually push us up. We might get more listeners. And thanks for the engagement we've had. Each month we're getting a steady increase in listeners, viewers, and engagement. And so on social media, where can people find us, Dante?
You can find us on Facebook. There is a Jambags Facebook page where you can leave sort of comments and questions for the podcast if you want to. We also have individual Facebook accounts which contribute to it as well. We've got a Twitter account, or two Twitter accounts. We've got at Jambags_UK, which is the account controlled by Rudy Manchego, and at DanSolo96, which is controlled by Dante Rodriguez. That's the Twitter handle for my account. We have an Instagram account, so at Jambags_UK. I've got some screen grabs that I've taken from playing Dishonored 2 recently. Some of the really nice artwork and scenery in that game I'm just about to put up later today. And we've got, I think that's it, isn't it? That's the Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
No, you've got us all. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, guys, so thanks very much for listening, and we'll catch you next month.
See you next time, Jambaggers.
Dante, look, I've been thinking about this whole, head-to-head thing and us getting all rolled up with console wars. There's an awful lot of effort we need to put into, hating each other for liking just because we bought different PC boxes. What do you think?
Well, to be honest, I think it's probably going to go much the same way as this particular console generation. I think that I will start with the one that I'm most comfortable with and eventually get the other one, like when the price drops.
I know, but exclusives on it. People are going to expect us to keep up the console war banter forever. There's going to be all the Xboxers who are on your side and all the Sony ponies on my side. Should we just knock it all in and get a PC gaming rig each?
Sorry, you keep cutting out. It's really starting to get regular about barely hearing what you can say. It's all right.
Okay, what do you reckon? Should we just knock it all in and get ourselves gaming PC rigs? It just seems a lot easier.
Yeah, go on then. Gaming PCs. PC Master Race. Woo!
Yeah, woo. Well, at least we can then be PC Master Race and look down all the little people who are console owners. Scum.
Yeah, I know. But, gamers don't install hardware. Gamers game. Just buy a pre-made box and expect to do everything.
We'll just be overly, we'll just gloat everyone about the Steam sales and how cheap games are on PC and how we can get it running at 60 FPS or 100 FPS on everything that we ever do because we've got a really great game rig and it can light up. We'll just do all that stuff and join that way and we'll get more listeners.
I don't know. Do you think we can maintain that level of douchebaggery over that amount of time, though?
I think we can.